Hey everyone, this is a weird angle, but I'm just going to say that, hey, it's me, Kim Justice, and I'm back at the Centre for Computing History. You know, that one in Cambridge that I've been to a lot, and probably shown you in a good couple of videos now, but now that I've got a nice camera, it's a nice retro video game night, I thought I'd kind of give the place some proper justice, if you'll pardon the pun. So yeah, let me just show you around and show you the highlights. See you later.
Thanks, me. Now, the Centre for Computing History. I love coming to this place. It is really a heaven for computer fans. And we immediately start off with some good hard stuff. Some lovely specky clones from foreign countries, stuff that was made on the other side of the wall back in the 80s. Those lovely red things there are Alice's actually, which are French. But yes, we do have some really gorgeous stuff here. You can just about faintly see a Brazilian TK90X and plenty of stuff like that. And that just kind of sets the mood for the sort of stuff that you often find here. Of course, it's not just completely obscure computers behind the wall. Here's a lovely Amstrad Cpc running one of the greatest games of all time. Good old Chucky Egg. Can't not love Chucky Egg. Beautiful machine. And you have some other very interesting stuff. I mean, there's interesting stuff basically everywhere you look. Here's the Tate and Einstein. A lot of people don't generally know much about this computer, but it was actually the computer that was often used by people to develop games, specifically for the ZX Spectrum, because it had a bit more power and would generally quite work well in terms of bringing those games that you developed on the Einstein and then putting them onto the actual Spectrum. And of course you got your big hitters, you got your C64 running some Frogger clone, a nice little 48K specky running Jetpack, and all these of course you got the proper monitors, proper screens, everything's in really good condition. So yeah, so just to fill you in on some info as we get this lovely TI-99. This was filmed right at the start of this month at their first retro video game night of the year, which they often run. They run them a good few times a year, and basically everyone gets together and we have a few drinks. There's drinks provided, believe it or not, and everyone can just enjoy themselves and play some games for the night. And the museum is kind of open. I've done videos here before with the GAN, so to speak, and it's always a really fun time. So we kind of had that kind of 80s themed display there. We've got an Acorn Archimedes here now, running a bit of looks like virus, doesn't it? Probably is virus. But yes, they keep all these machines in wonderful condition, and they're really cracking lads. They've just received actually full accreditation, which basically makes them a proper museum, like on the same level as, I don't know, the British Museum or the Museum of Natural History and all sorts of things like that. Here's a computer coming up actually that I'm really interested in, the Memotech. The Memotech is something that I've kind of been researching a little, and it does have a very interesting story behind it. Something else here, giving you a nice little display. There is, I mean, it's basic enough to say, but there is just something about old computers like this anyway, because they don't make them like it anymore, do they? When do you get shapes like this? And there's plenty of other stuff for side computers. There's electronics as well. Here's a calculator display. TI-99, older Sinclair Cambridges, Sinclair Executives. Some budding little laptops. There's even more of those coming. But the thing that perhaps most interested me here, I mean, wow, look. A Sinclair Blackwatch. First time I'd seen that in the flesh. I hadn't noticed it the previous times that I'd been here. And it's amazing to see a Sinclair Blackwatch that isn't completely destroyed and hasn't exploded or set on fire or anything. It is really quite a monolith of a watch, quite a monolithic disaster, one that I have covered before in the video if you recall back to the real Sir Clive Sinclair, but sometimes I wonder if I should do even more on it, because it is just one of those real what they were thinking moments. Got some nice digital cameras, projectors here, and just at the top here, another great Sinclair product, the TV-80. Speaking of crap products, here's something that I think so many of us like retro YouTubers really want to cover in full. The Amstrad emailer. Now the trouble with covering one of these in full, even though they are remarkably cheap to get obviously, they don't work. Because, you know, the servers are long down for those things, you can't really connect them to the internet anymore. So it's hard to actually really cover them in full as they were supposed to be back when they were released. A remarkable disaster of a product, as owned by Alan Partridge. Have a big load of mobile phones here. I'm sure you can pick out ones that you used to own back in the day. Apple message pads, all sorts of things, and even a big old classic early 80s Motorola car phone. Gotta love a product like that. It's basic to say, but you think of just how far things have gone, and of course plenty of more rare computers behind the glass. Another super interesting computer, the Jupiter Ace, a ZX Spectrum variant from the early 80s, well, a ZX81 variant to be precise. Again, one that was a lot more popular with serious programmers than the general ZX81 was, but one that was certainly in a very small niche. Those computers are remarkably rare these days. I've always loved the look of the classic ZX80. That is a classic design. Just the big oversized logo and computer name just really sets it off me. The rarest of the Sinclair models, the classic ones, the 128K. And of course you've got some nice Oryx and stuff like that. One thing I actually didn't see out on the floor, although I'm sure I just probably missed it. They must have had a Dragon 32 somewhere, but I didn't quite see one. Here we go with a sort of evolution of portable computers. You've got your Osborne 1. You've got, I'm not actually sure what that is, but the T2100 makes me think it's a Texas Instruments type thing. With some nice red on black there, which is, again, something you just don't see. You've got this nice little libretto computer that just so happened to be running a little bit of Grand Theft Auto, which I could even sort of vaguely mash the keyboard and control a little with one hand, while still managing to keep the camera steady. A libretto by Toshiba, I think from the looks of things. And yeah, you've got a few other ones. There's a nice Apple one. Just at the back there, actually, which I should have focused on really, you do have the Z88, which is actually, a lot of people say, although it didn't do well, is one of the better computers, if not one of the best, very best computers that Sir Clive Sinclair had a hand in. A very quick, almost too quick look at the 70s office with one of my all-time favourite machines. You all know this. If you know me, you know how much I love Commodore PETs. A big wall of old specky classics, cutting right to a GX4000 rather. And yet you've got consoles as well. Not as many consoles, it has to be said, as computers, but you do have consoles, you have arcade machines, but you also have things like this glorious blinking light display, and one of the most important parts of the whole thing, Lord Conrad's Brewery, who comes in every night on these retro video game nights to supply us with some quite lovely local ale. FM Towns Marties. And a good old QL. Again, something you just don't often see in the flesh, with, weirdly for a QL, a graphical display that puts you in control of enormous computing power. If only it had an actual interface. Gotta love an Amiga, especially when it's an Amiga with an original monitor, playing Strider. And you gotta love another machine that I always really like the look of. I love the look of the Commodore Plus 4. It's actually probably, aside from the PET, it's probably my favourite looking of the classic Commodore machines. Even though, again, it's not a particularly good machine. I don't know. I just love sleek black. Oh, and by the way, we had some friends come.
The volume slide on that, so cute.
Anywhere in the world, simply by touching a television screen. It's British Telecom's City Business System, and it gives the dealing room at Lloyds Bank International the speed of connection that is vital in a business.
They don't make stuff like this anymore.
So nice. The sound is so nostalgic.
Oh yeah, just that completely
That weird reverb on the
reverby rubbish
bass.
sound. It's just like So yes, we had the awesome Quan Asobitech come along, as well as Bex, TristaBytes on YouTube, come in to join the fun. Also Peter, Nostalgia Nerd, and Octavius came later. So we all had fun, we all played some glorious arcade games such as Tempest here. I'm obviously filming and I'm sure I'm offering some great commentary as I did here for 1942. Focus on the concentrating. Extreme close up.
That was close. Evenly matched.
Go on. Oh,
That's a good start.
rubbish.
Better, Quang.
Damn it.
I'm better than goblins. This one, I'm not
Right on your
amazing
eyes.
at.
There you go.
But we'll try.
I've got that extreme Sergio Leone shit going on. I can see your eyes. I can literally see the whites of your eyes right now.
Power up. Yes. Alright. Now we've got firepower.
So yes, I'm sure you'll agree that that wasn't awkward at all. I had a bit of a go on 1942 myself and vaguely celebrated doing marginally better than Quan did, although still not great. So yes, we all had a very lovely time. There was some Pac-Man versus fun on Gamecube to be had later, which I will close out this video with. And a lot of other nice consoles in the 80s classroom, which is another like cute little setup they've got where they've got Acorns, BBC Micros, Domesday Machine, things like that. But here tonight, being the retro video game night, we've got R-Type. And R-Type isn't necessarily something I'm good at, so I'm just here with something that's more my speed, just a bit of Jetpack on a +2. I thought I set a pretty good score on this one myself. I did really well on it, and then Quan came along and just smashed it, but then he has done a modern version of this game for smartphones and that, so naturally he knows the game quite well. Anyway, so we'll close out here with some Pac-Man versus footage on Gamecube, with more encouragement from me. Come on, Bex. Yeah, there we go. Come on. There we go. Yay! There we go. Now we're talking. Come on, Bex, get those motherfuckers. Oh! Come on, get up their arse. No, no, no. Oh. God damn it. What the hell? What the hell? Come on, where's the game plan out there? So, again, a great time was had by all. Much love to Quan, Bex, and Sarah and Pete, although I didn't catch them on camera because I was too drunk, I'm afraid, by the point that they came. Thanks to them for coming, and thanks to the Cambridge Centre for Computing History for hosting such an awesome night. And as far as all those computers that I've seen that have been showing you in this video, I'm hoping to do something really cool with them in the future, with these guys, so watch this space for that. But anyway, the video's done, so yeah, bye for now. Many thanks for watching this video. If you liked the video, then please like it and support me on social media, and also maybe have a look at my Patreon, where you could join a list of these awesome people here. Andrew Dalton, Andy Capt, Asobi Quan DX, Chris Cox, Conrad Pritchard, Daniel Briggs, Daniel Dave Taylor, Dave Cork, David Rose, Dustin Cooper, Gary Samaden, Geordie Alex, James Brown, James Loveridge, Jason Stevens, Jace Alexander, Lee Norris, Lucas Kaligovsky, Martin Pataki, Nicholas Tristan, Nicky and Bunty, Peter Jack, Phil Taprog, Potter Margel, Renbimon, Are You OK 2000, Seth Robinson, Simon Gulliver, Yerka Operator, Zach Roach, and to all the rest of the community, thank you and goodbye.